I let my cheating business partner think we were still friends while I secretly stole all his clients. 5 years ago, I thought I had found my business soulmate when we started our consulting firm together. We complemented each other perfectly. I handled the technical side while he managed client relationships and sales. Our friendship went back to college, and I trusted him completely with everything from my business decisions to my personal life. The first red flag should have been when he started working late more often, claiming he was networking with potential clients at fancy restaurants downtown. I was so buried in project work that I barely questioned it. Our revenue was growing steadily, and I assumed his efforts were paying off. He would come back from these meetings with stories about promising leads and potential contracts worth thousands of dollars. Everything seemed perfect until I accidentally opened his laptop one evening when mine crashed during a critical deadline. We always shared everything, so it felt natural to grab his computer to finish the presentation. That's when I discovered the truth that would change everything between us forever. Hidden in his browser history and saved files were detailed records of meetings with our biggest clients. But these weren't just any meetings. He was systematically badmouthing me to every single one of them. Screenshots of emails showed him telling clients that I was unreliable, that my work quality had declined, and that he was considering dissolving our partnership because I had become a liability to the business. The worst part was reading how he painted himself as the victim, claiming he was protecting clients from my supposed incompetence while trying to save our friendship. He had been building cases against me for months, collecting every small mistake or delayed response and presenting them as evidence of my professional decline. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through folder after folder of his deception. There were backup plans for starting his own company, client lists with notes about which ones would be easiest to poach, and even draft contracts with our logo replaced by his new business name. He had been planning his exit strategy while smiling to my face every single day. The betrayal cut deeper than any business dispute could. This wasn't just about money or clients. This was someone I considered family systematically destroying my reputation while pretending to care about our friendship. I had shared my fears, my dreams, even my family problems with him, and he had been plotting against me the entire time. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying every recent conversation, every reassuring pat on the back, every time he had offered to handle a difficult client situation. Now I understood why certain clients had become distant or why some projects had ended abruptly. He had been poisoning those relationships while I remained completely oblivious. The next morning, he walked into our office with coffee and his usual cheerful greeting, asking about my weekend plans like nothing had happened. I managed to maintain my composure, but inside I was seething. How could someone be so duplicitous? How could he look me in the eye and ask about my family while actively sabotaging my livelihood? I realized I had two choices: confront him immediately and risk losing everything in a messy business divorce, or play the long game and protect myself strategically. The emotional side of me wanted to scream and demand answers, but the practical side knew that would only accelerate his timeline and give him the upper hand. So I decided to become just as strategic as he was. I started documenting everything, every client interaction, every project decision, every financial transaction. I backed up all our shared files and client contact information. I began subtly reaching out to clients myself, not to badmouth him, but to strengthen my own relationships and demonstrate my value independently. The hardest part was pretending everything was normal. I had to laugh at his jokes, discuss weekend plans, and act like we were still the perfect business partners. Every fake smile felt like swallowing glass, but I knew I needed time to build my own foundation before his house of cards came crashing down. I started working on personal projects during evenings and weekends, developing new service offerings that showcased my skills without his involvement. I reached out to former colleagues and built a network that existed entirely separate from our shared business connections. Slowly, I began establishing myself as an independent expert in our field. The breakthrough came when one of our largest clients called me directly instead of going through our main business line. They had a complex technical problem that needed immediate attention, and they specifically requested my expertise. During that project, I learned that my partner had been telling them I was overwhelmed and unreliable, but they had worked with me long enough to know better. That conversation opened my eyes to something crucial. Most of our clients valued my technical skills more than his sales charm. They had been politely tolerating his narrative about my declining performance, but they still trusted my work quality. This gave me the confidence to start building more direct relationships with our entire client base. I began scheduling individual check-ins with each client, framing them as quality assurance meetings to ensure their satisfaction with our services. During these conversations, I learned that several clients had been considering leaving because they felt disconnected from the actual work being done. They wanted more direct communication with the person handling their projects. My partner seemed pleased that I was taking more initiative with client relationships. He probably thought I was finally stepping up to share the sales burden, not realizing that I was systematically building my own client base. His arrogance worked in my favor. He was so confident in his manipulation that he never suspected I might be playing the same game. Over the following months, I established separate contracts with about 60% of our clients for additional services outside our partnership agreement. These were personal consulting arrangements for specialized technical work that fell outside our main business scope. Perfectly legal, perfectly ethical, and perfectly positioned for what I knew was coming. The most satisfying part was watching him continue his charade while I built my escape plan. He would complain about difficult clients, not knowing that those same clients were privately telling me how much they appreciated working with me directly. He would celebrate landing new contracts, not realizing that those clients had specifically requested my involvement. I also discovered that he had been inflating his contributions to our revenue. Several contracts he claimed credit for had actually come through referrals from my technical work or from clients who specifically sought out my expertise. He had been rewriting our business history to make himself appear more valuable while diminishing my contributions. When I finally felt secure enough to make my move, I didn't confront him with dramatic accusations or emotional outbursts. Instead, I simply informed him that I would be dissolving our partnership and starting my own company. I presented it as a natural evolution of our different career goals, not as a response to his betrayal. His reaction was priceless. He immediately went into damage control mode, trying to convince me that we were stronger together and that splitting up would hurt both of us financially. He offered to restructure our partnership, give me a larger share of profits, even suggested we could expand into new markets together, all while maintaining the facade that he had been a loyal friend and partner. But the real shock came when I revealed that most of our clients would be coming with me. I had spent months building direct relationships and demonstrating my value independently. When they had to choose between working with him or with me, the decision was easy. They knew who actually delivered the results they needed. The look on his face when he realized what had happened was worth every sleepless night I had spent planning my exit strategy. He had been so focused on his elaborate scheme to push me out that he never considered I might be capable of outmaneuvering him. His confidence in his own manipulation had made him blind to the possibility that I was playing a deeper game. In the end, I walked away with about 75% of our client base, all of our technical assets, and a reputation that he had inadvertently helped me build by forcing me to prove my value independently. His attempts to undermine me had actually made me stronger and more self-reliant than I had ever been as his partner. The irony wasn't lost on me that his betrayal had been the catalyst for my greatest professional success. If he had remained loyal, I might have stayed comfortable in our partnership forever, never realizing my full potential as an independent consultant. His deception had forced me to develop skills and relationships that I never would have pursued otherwise. Starting my own company was terrifying but exhilarating. For the first time in years, I was making decisions based purely on what was best for my clients and my business, not on maintaining a partnership with someone who had been working against me. The freedom to operate with complete integrity felt like stepping out of a shadow I hadn't realized was there. My former partner tried to salvage his remaining client relationships, but word travels fast in our industry. People began to realize that the technical expertise they had valued in our partnership was walking out the door with me. Several clients who had initially stayed with him eventually reached out to work with me directly. The most unexpected twist came about a year later when I discovered that I wasn't his only victim. Through industry connections, I learned that he had pulled similar schemes with previous business partners and even some clients. There was a pattern of building trust, gathering information, and then using that knowledge to advance his own interests at others' expense. This revelation helped me understand that his betrayal wasn't personal, it was simply how he operated in the business world. He saw relationships as opportunities for exploitation rather than genuine partnerships. Knowing this actually brought me some peace, because it meant his actions reflected his character, not any failing on my part. Looking back, I'm grateful for the experience, even though it was painful at the time. It taught me to trust my instincts, to maintain independent relationships, and to never become so dependent on a partnership that I couldn't survive on my own. Most importantly, it showed me that I was capable of much more than I had ever imagined. My business has grown beyond what our partnership ever achieved. I've built a team of talented people who share my values and commitment to client success. We operate with transparency and integrity, and our reputation in the industry reflects that commitment. The success feels genuine because it was built on honest relationships and quality work, not on manipulation or deception. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had confronted him immediately instead of playing the long game. Would we have found a way to work through the betrayal? Would he have changed his approach if he knew I was aware of his schemes? But I don't regret my choice. Taking the time to build my own foundation before making the break gave me the strength and resources I needed to succeed independently. The experience also changed how I approach new business relationships. I'm more cautious about partnerships now, but not in a way that prevents me from building meaningful connections. Instead, I maintain healthy boundaries and keep my own interests protected while still being generous and collaborative with others. I never did tell him that I knew about his betrayal. When we see each other at industry events, we exchange polite greetings and keep the conversation professional. There's no point in rehashing the past or trying to make him understand the impact of his actions. The best revenge has been building a successful business that speaks for itself. His company struggled for a while after I left, but he eventually found his footing with a different business model. I don't wish failure on him, but I also don't feel any obligation to help him succeed. He made his choices, and now he has to live with the consequences of burning bridges and destroying trust. The whole experience taught me that sometimes the people closest to us are capable of the deepest betrayals. But it also showed me that I'm stronger and more resourceful than I ever knew. When someone you trust tries to destroy your foundation, you have two choices: let them succeed or build something even stronger on your own terms. I chose to build, and that choice has made all the difference in my life and career.